This is a little owl that we recently released back into the wild. This is a young tawny owl that we recently released back into the wild. And this is a wild young kestrel that very soon we'll be releasing back into the wild. We do rescue birds of prey, and sometimes we go for periods where we have very little come in, and any that do often die in the night because they're just already too injured. However, recently we've had a spate of much less severe injuries which we've been able to help and fix, and then release them back into the wild, which is just wonderful to do. So I'm outside Bailey the barn owl aviary, and I know he's started molting recently because we've got feathers like this one that is dropping. So a slight break on the end, otherwise it's not a bad feather at all. But Bailey here has been doing some really interesting flying recently. So volunteers like Nick and Robin have been taking him up to where we often fly him and trying some different things like big circular flights. So setting him off, whistling, which is a recall sound, and he's circling back to the glove. The reason for this is we've got quite a lot of big flying shows coming up with very large arenas, and we've got to think about how the barn owl will look to the audience around doing these big flights. If he's doing one straight flight, that's quite nice, but doing something curved, it's a little bit more interesting, a bit more exciting really. The second thing that we've been trying, that Robin has had a go at doing first, is getting him to hover. And here's a clip showing a bit of progress that she made with the hovering technique, and as he gets better at that we'll hopefully show you some more clips. And that is something that barn owls will do in the wild. They're like kestrels, hovering with their wings because they know it's worth waiting that moment, worth using their energy hovering to attack whatever it is on the ground they're going to catch for their meal. Most likely a small rodent if it's a barn owl like Bailey here. Okay, lots of interesting things in this video. Welcome to the Owl Diary number 42. So we're here at Yoke Farm near Boroughbridge in North Yorkshire. We're here for the weekend. They've got a special market type event on and invited us to come along with our static handling display. So over there we've got some different owls and some snakes and a spider, and people are coming up, and of course they do pay a small fee to hold them. We do sometimes get asked if we will offer a price for handling where the people coming don't have to pay anything, and we always turn that down. I don't care if they're willing to pay me £1,000, £2,000, we don't do it. Because unless it's a really tiny event, and I mean there's only maybe 50, 60 people there, we could not possibly do that for the animal's sake. And for our sake as well, it'd be very difficult. We often get a crowd like this around the display when there is a charge. We can sometimes get a small queue of people when there is a price fix of maybe £3 a hold. Can you imagine how busy it would be if there was no price fixed on that? We'd have a massive queue. There's nothing to stop little Timmy coming back and wanting to hold a bird again and again because his mum and dad are sat down having a picnic and he's running around, for example, and it would become too much work for the birds. It's not really a very good thing to do when you consider it from an animal welfare point of view. So this is the service we offer, and they do pay us a little something to come. Our prices are on the website, and it's a really popular attraction to have at venues like this. So I'll go over now and let you have a little closer look at what we've got on offer today. Okay, so it's about 11 o'clock at night here in the UK. In fact, it's only just getting dark now, as it tends to do this time of the year. Around June, it does get dark rather late. And I've just had a phone call from a young lady who's witnessed a small species of owl being clipped by a car. And she actually sent me a video of it in a box, in a towel, which is the right thing to do. And it's looking rather dazed. There's a little bit of bleeding apparently. And she's on her way to a lay-by quite near to where I live. I'm on the way now to meet her there, and we're going to see what's happening, and hopefully this is another bird we can take in as a rescue, rehabilitate it and release it back into the wild once it's fit and well. So let's see what happens. Hi there.
Right.
That's alright, thanks. I'm filming because of the YouTube channel, if that's alright.
Oh, marvellous.
So I can get the first
Yeah, that's
clips of it.
absolutely fine.
Yeah, thanks for calling us.
He's in there. I don't want him to fly out.
No, of course, it's the right thing to put it in. Yeah. Do you want to hold that for a second for me then and film it? Thank you. I'll have another inspection quick, just get something to do immediately, which probably isn't, but I'll have a look. Oh, yeah, it's a tawny then, yeah.
Oh, little baby.
Yeah, young tawny. So.
Oh, he's a bit more lively now. He's a lot more lively.
Yeah.
And his eyes open.
Well, that's good then. So what we'll do obviously is take it back, give it a good check over. Sometimes if they're stunned, they're okay the next day to be released, or they might need a bit longer, but we'll see. So
thank you so
we'll do that,
much.
and I'll obviously give you an update on it all. Right then, I've just got back. Wasn't too long a drive. The young lady who hit the bird said she was travelling about 50 miles per hour, she thinks, when it came out of the tree or the hedgerow, and she saw it being clipped, thought it was dead to begin with, and luckily it's perked up a little bit. We'll have a quick examination. I'm really hoping this young one is just stunned, but we do need to be sure that there's no further injury to it. So they did the right thing, as there's a blanket here, and I'm going to show you the bird just briefly. I'm going to pick it up in the blanket as well. I did have a quick look at it out there with my bare hands, but the reason why the blanket is partly to cover the eyes, so we can't see people in some cases right now. We're going to have a look at its eyes though, but also it keeps my bare hands off its wings as well, which it will have. Even though there's all this down here, the wings will have shot up. So I'm going to have a really close look here at the eyes firstly to see how alert he is. He's having a gentle nibble at me here. That one looks okay. That one looks okay. I'm just checking for injury here. I'm looking for bleeding. I'm looking for marks or anything like that. And as I said, the wings are perfectly formed. So having a feel of the keel, that seems okay. And it's just a case of giving it the night. We'll put some food and water in there, and we'll see what it's like in the morning. So it's 2 days later and the owl is looking really good. It's been eating and we're happy to now release it back into the wild. Now you can see how fluffy it is. It's clearly a very young bird. It's probably only 5 weeks or so. Now there is a thing known as branching owls. This is where tawny owls begin to fledge very young, from 3 weeks old, sitting on tree branches, even on the floor, and they're learning from their parents how to hunt and so on. This particular owl's a little bit older than that, but still a fledgling. But because it was seen flying, we have to assume it started to learn how to hunt, and so its best chance at survival in the wild is to release it again. If we keep it in captivity, then it's going to end up not being a wild bird anymore. From this age, it's going to be kind of hand-reared, and we don't want that at all. So it's been in its box, eating well, like I say, and we're now going to have a go releasing it back into the wild over here. Right, off you go. Okay, so he's landed down there in the bushes, and that's absolutely fine because these tawny owls won't always want to fly straight off into the tree, but I think he's going to be absolutely fine because very soon I'm sure he'll fly up into one of these trees here, and the tawny owls that are around will hear it and notice it, and hopefully it's going to be absolutely fine. So it's now about a week later. I'm currently editing the Owl Diary, and this morning someone posted on a local Facebook group this photograph showing a tawny owl sitting on a tree branch very close to the area where I released it. It might not be the same one, but I'm going to take a hint and say this is actually the same owl, and therefore a week later it's definitely doing very well out there, learning to hunt and surviving in the wild. So hopefully that was a success story. Well, I do love this time of the year when we have daylight till very late at night. Here in the UK, in the middle of summer, in June, it doesn't get dark until about 11:15 at night, and doesn't get light again in the morning until about
3:15. So it really is a long day, which makes it really fantastic because we can fly birds in an evening, we can get jobs done that are otherwise very difficult to do in the middle of winter. Now, if you've been watching our videos recently, you'll have already have met this little one here. This is Pepper, and she's about 3.5 months old now, and she is our burrowing owl. And you may have also seen recently a short video I put on YouTube of this particular owl being mobbed by a blackbird during a bit of training. It was on a line, which is called a creance, which is a fancy word for a long piece of string, and we did some recall training for food with the owl. But this blackbird had a few attempts at trying to scare Pepper off. And this is quite common at the minute, especially when we're doing flying with the hawks or the other owls, and we have birds like crows, magpies, seagulls, and blackbirds, and even robins and other birds trying to scare off our birds of prey. And the reason is it's the time of the year when they all have young in their nests. So they are trying to protect their young from the scary bird of prey. They see the talons, they see the bird, they know it's a predator, and so they try their best to scare them off. And I must say I was amazed to get this slow-mo of the blackbird actually coming into contact with Pepper. After that, I put Pepper back in the aviary, gave her some food. She was absolutely fine, perfectly unharmed, wasn't scathed at all by the blackbirds. And I thought I'd give you a little update on our exotic animals. Here I'm in the snake shed, as we call it, and in here we have got Bruce the carpet python, which my volunteers worked out was actually a New Guinea variant of what is otherwise an Australian snake. We know he likes his water, so Robin, one of the volunteers, had an idea of putting a rubbin and filling it with water, and as you can see he is essentially fully submerged in there with the exception of his nostrils, and he spends all his time in the water. Except when we get him out and a few people hold him or he visits the school. Otherwise, he's in the water all the time. Now, there are a few different reasons why this could be, but we're pretty confident that actually it's just because he really likes his water. He just loves the feel of being submerged. We did this originally to up the humidity a little bit. And, well, you can't get more humid than being submerged completely in the water like that. And I've saved this last bit of exotic animal news till last because some of you might think it's a bit creepy, but nothing to be scared of here. This is the skin, or rather the exoskeleton of a tarantula. It does look a bit like a real spider sort of curled up, doesn't it? And in there you've got the fangs, but to see them just on the front there, they're picking up on the camera, I don't know. But look at that, fantastic. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this is what came off Oreo, our white-kneed tarantula, just a week ago. And it's important because it was really overdue a shed. We were quite concerned. Even though I was spraying the tank regularly, it had its water, it was warm enough and humid enough, had the right substrate, plenty of food, it was eating, etc., etc. It wasn't shedding, and its abdomen was looking quite low and we were worried it was going to die, and then all of a sudden one day I saw that in the corner and then out popped this beautiful specimen. Look at that. So they're called the Mexican white knee because of these kind of white knees they have on the legs there. And when it comes to handling tarantulas, it's a slightly contentious issue. Some are not to be handled at all, so it didn't seem to want to come onto me. That's absolutely fine. We'll just see if it walks a little bit on this hide that I pulled out of its tank there. And as I say, they're really fascinating creatures because essentially they're quite weird. They are very much upside down and back to front. So they have 8 legs. On the front they have 2 pedipalps, which are kind of pushers, feelers as it were. And the back is called the abdomen, in the middle it's called the cephalothorax. We feed it on crickets. See if it wants to come out here. There we go, on my hand now. So we feed it on crickets, mostly. And what it has is a pair of curved fangs there that it will use to hook and pull in the insect on the rainforest floor. They then dissolve the insect, and then the straws and then the fangs are like straws, so they then drink the insect. So they essentially make themselves a little insect smoothie. So I'm really pleased that Oreo here is shed and is eating really well, and that's fantastic because we like to take the spider to schools and some of the outdoor events we do just to showcase the spider. And if anyone's feeling brave enough, they can have a go actually holding the spider as well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Owl Diary. Keep an eye on the channel, lots coming up. We've got the new series of videos on Maverick, our new Harris Hawk. So we're doing 1 or 2 videos a week, I think, on that bird there. We've also got some interesting standalone videos coming up. You're going to see the channel looking rather busy over the next few weeks because we've got so much going on and I want to showcase it for you. As always, thank you for watching, and for myself, all the birds, the reptiles and Oreo the tarantula, thanks for watching.